Jacob Rees-Mogg, thank you so much for having me at your home. And I thought it was appropriate, actually, to do it this way because you're going to be inviting our incredible GB News family to have you in their living room every night, Monday to Thursday. So now we're in your home. And I thought it was important actually to find out a little bit about the man behind what can be a political caricature, I guess.
Well, first of all, I'm very much looking forward to being with GB News and very grateful to those people who are inviting me into their homes through nightly broadcasts. But actually, politically, I've never thought what is presented of me has been particularly inaccurate. I'm not much different in private from the public view.
So you feel you've always been a very honest broker in terms of what you present on a personal basis?
Well, people have put this to me before, and I think the answer is, would anybody have adopted my image out of a creation, a confection? I think that's very unlikely, so I'd better be what I really am.
So talk to me about what it was like going from that transition, a sort of avid bachelor, I guess, who for a long time had focused very much on business and making a fortune to set yourself up for life, to a husband and very quickly a dad of 6.
Well, I'm very lucky. I mean, I've got 6 marvellous children and lovely wife. What more could anybody ask for?
But you were careful, weren't you? You were careful because I was looking into.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, I was looking into some of your early interviews, and you made the point that you wanted to be certain that the woman who you settled down with was the one, because you didn't want a woman who was going to end up running off with your fortune.
Well, I can't think of, I don't have much of a fortune, but I think that everybody wants that degree of certainty.
So how did you know? How did you know?
Well, it's just good luck, and things worked. Good fortune.
And she was a journalist, or is a
That's
journalist?
right. That's right. She was.
And so, did you connect on an intellectual basis?
No. We were introduced by my sister, Nunziata, who's also been on GB News.
Yes, I know her well.
Introduced me to Helena, and we started talking. And I'm afraid I mainly talked about Helena's ancestor, Thomas Wentworth. And Helena thought, who's this rather odd fellow who knows more about my family history than I do?
So, 6 children. You believe in a traditional upbringing, and one of the most fascinating sides, I guess, of your family life is the fact that your nanny, who I believe is 80 years old now, was also your nanny growing up. So she has remained in the family.
She's remained in the family for, jolly nearly 60 years now. I think 57 years. So no, it's an amazing lifetime that she's been with our family, and this has been marvellous for my children. When you say traditional, I think indulgent actually is probably the more accurate word.
You're lucky.
My children have me wrapped around their little finger.
Do they?
Absolutely.
So you're the soft dad?
I give them the whole time, yes.
And does she need to be the authoritarian?
No, Nanny's gives in almost as quickly as I do. There's not much.
So that's funny, because I think some people might have thought that you were the strict one.
No, I give in straight away before being asked, really. I'm a complete pushover.
You love being a dad?
Oh, enormously, yes. It's wonderful, and I love seeing my children grow and develop. It's very exciting. It's so interesting as well.
Harriet Harman once called you a deadbeat dad because you admitted that you had never changed one of your children's nappies.
Yes, but she's entitled to her opinion.
How did you feel about that?
I couldn't give tuppence about it. That people say things in politics, and one shouldn't worry about them at all.
Do you think it's important for mothers and fathers to play traditional roles in the upbringing of their children?
No, I wouldn't want to tell other families how to operate their family. That's a matter for them. But I think family is very important. I think it's very important for the happiness and growth of children and a stable background. All the evidence suggests that a stable background for children helps their development.
And your children are impeccably presented, aren't they? Like you, always very well dressed. Do you sometimes look around at where we're at in society in 2023 and worry?
I'm very positive about society, and actually my children dress as they want to dress. So some of them dress more formally than others. They're individuals, and so they're not, except when they're obviously very little, forced to wear things that they don't want to wear. It's really a choice for them.
You're famous for your sartorial standards. Talk to me about that. I mean, how many suits do you have, Jacob, double-breasted suits?
Well, I mean, I've got more than two, but I basically only got two. I've got a dark blue one and a dark grey one, and one time it's one time it's the other.
Do you ever dress down?
No, I don't. But my clothing is very boring. It's not particularly a sartorial style. It is just, as I say.
So you don't own a pair of jeans?
What would I do with a pair of jeans?
Sneakers? Trainers?
No, I've got a pair, somewhere else, I've got a pair of green flash shoes, which I occasionally put on if my children bully me into playing cricket with them. But I've also got a very ancient pair of cricket boots that I had since I was at school, which I managed to get out last summer when I played in the Blagdon Fathers against the under-11s.
And is that the only exercise you take, sport, or do you...
Oh, you know, I'm not a great one for taking exercise, no.
And so do you watch what you eat?
Not particularly, no. But I don't... I hope I'm not a glutton.
Now talk to me about growing up, because of course you were born into a life of great privilege. Your father, the editor of The Times, the newspaper of record, of course, hugely influential now, but back then on a different scale. So you really had every opportunity, didn't you, to be a success?
Oh, I've been very fortunate, but the key good fortune was to be born into a loving family. And I think that's the essence of what has helped me through my life, is that supportive family. And as I was saying earlier, we know how valuable that is to everybody. So yes, indeed, there were other advantages, and my father being editor of The Times, we constantly met interesting people, and that was a great privilege. But actually having that stability of a loving family is, I think, fundamental, and something that society ought to do more to help.
I agree. You were a political animal, though, from a very young age. Some of that must have been from your dad, surely.
Oh, of course. The main topic of conversation at home was politics. It was my father's great interest, and we might talk about other things for a little bit, but almost always conversation would get back to politics.
What do you think about the Scottish nationalist?
Well, he lost his deposit.
Do you think that that's a good thing?
Yes, I do. I don't approve of the Scottish nationalists.
My father had a great quality, which is that he was always interested in his children's view. So that if we were discussing politics, he would want to know what his children thought.
It sounds to me like you were always very determined to get financial security early in your life so that you would then be able to pursue your interest in politics.
I think that assumes too great a structure. I think things happen more by chance than by long-term planning or design.
Do you think it's gauche when people talk about how much money you made?
People talk about what they like, it's not my business.
But of course you were, after that time, pretty much set for life, weren't you? You didn't have to work another day in your life if you didn't want.
Everyone has to work, and that's what life is about. I mean, I think this idea that you can just rest on your laurels is false.
But it did give you the ability to commit to politics.
I wouldn't overstate the importance of a city career, and things I've read about my own situation are always massively exaggerated.
Really?
So I wouldn't take those seriously either.
Did you feel it was your destiny to be a Tory MP?
Destiny is overstating it. It was certainly something I wanted to do, and I felt it was very important to persevere, that, you know, you don't get what you want the first time, you keep on going.
Do you still want to be Prime Minister? deep down?
No, I'm supporting the Prime Minister we've got. I want Rishi Sunak to make a success of it. I was a great supporter of Boris Johnson and thought it was a terrible mistake to get rid of him. But I think the Tory party must not change leader again. I think that would be a recipe for electoral
But
failure.
you're young, Jacob. You're 53, aren't you? And back when you were much, much younger, you said you would be happy to be Prime Minister by the age of 70.
Well,
so you've got another 17 years.
I think that was an interview I gave when I was about 12 or something. So that was quite a long time ago. I wouldn't...
So there genuinely is no burning ambition to lead the Conservative Party one day? I fully appreciate that right now there is a leader.
No, what I'm looking forward to is my programme on GB News.
Was the night of the Brexit referendum victory the best in your political career?
Oh, it was the most exciting of my political career, yes.
What's been the most exciting day of your life?
Well, everything of that kind revolves around family, and the birth of children is, the most remarkable thing that ever happens. This sudden creation of the appearance of new life is really very wonderful.